Morning, everyone. We'll start this meeting out. It's 10:05. My name is Dan Allers, Mayor of the Town of Fort Myers Beach. This is going to be basically a presentation from FEMA and our town staff, letting you know where we've come from over the last year, where we're planning on going, some of the things. It'll be very interactive. As you see around the room, there's boards that you'll be able to put stickers next to that are high priorities for our community, which will then be gathered, brought back, and we'll kind of condense some things. FEMA will go over all that in their presentation. Daniel Tomczak is here. That will be covering some of the long-term goals, I believe, as well as Madeline Gorman. That will be covering some of our short-term stuff and some of the other things. After them, you'll hear from Frankie, who's our operations director. I shorten his title because it's pretty long. He'll go over kind of some of the things that we've been working on over the last year, what we've accomplished over the last year, and what's been going on kind of behind the scenes. I know sometimes it's a difficult year from the community. They feel that nothing's happening, but there's a lot of things happening behind closed doors that all of a sudden just gets done, and you're like, wow, what was going on there? So he'll cover that, as well as our staff. Some of our key staff members will be here to give you some highlights on our parks, our beaches, things like that, our public works. So I want to thank them for being here. Councilman Veach, I see, is here again today, so thank him for coming out. I believe I saw Chief Worth was here from the fire district, so thank you, sir, for coming out. After the presentations are done, you'll be able to ask questions with myself, staff. SBA is here, as well as FEMA, as well as FDEM. If you have any questions concerning the hazard mitigation grants, things like that, they'll be able to give you some assistance with that. But with that, I will turn it over to Dan from FEMA, and he'll take it from here.
Good morning. I want to first thank everyone for coming out this morning. This is, I guess, round two of our presentation. We had the first one last night. Went really well. Had good, great attendance. So again, thank everyone for coming out. Just a brief introduction. My name is Dan Tomczak, and I am with the Community Assistance Group. I will be speaking today on the long-term recovery planning that the town of Fort Myers Beach is working on with us. My coworker, Madeline Gorman, will also be presenting as well. And kind of the general flow for today will be about 25 minutes. Madeline and myself will be speaking on the long-term recovery planning. And then I will pass the podium over to Frankie and with the town, and Frankie will give a good introduction on a lot of the projects that are currently going on, more near term, and then he'll speak. He and his team will speak for about 25 minutes, and then lastly, the last half an hour will be kind of the open session where you'll have the opportunity to go around the room and speak to the people in the back, and I will definitely be pointing them out multiple times during the presentation, just to make sure that that everyone does stop by the different tables and speak with the other partners that are in the back. Again, just a brief introduction. Madeline Gorman and then myself, Dan Tomczak, will be speaking on the long-term recovery planning for the town of Fort Myers Beach. And then Frankie and his team of town staff will be providing some updates on some of the projects that are currently being done. All right, other partners in the room. So I do definitely want to point out and make sure that when, before you leave today, that you do go to the back of the room and stop by the booths. We have some representatives from SBA that are here, and I know some people, will think of SBA as only for business people, but they do have programs for residents as well. So definitely stop by and talk to them and see if there's any opportunities that they may be able to provide. FDEM, Laura was here last night, but is not able to make it here today. She did leave some cards in the back at the comment card table. She is with the mitigation group from FDEM, and if you do have any comments or questions for her, please take one of her cards and reach out to her directly. In addition to SBA, we have PTAC, which is now, the new title is Apex Accelerators, but they're representative here to speak to you for businesses that are interested in getting involved with government contract within the state. So definitely stop by there. Disaster Case Management Program, Terry is in the corner. I can't see her from here, but anyway, Terry is here with the Disaster Case Management Program group. Definitely stop by and speak to her as well. And then lastly, there are representatives from FEMA here as well. All right, just briefly, the agenda. Again, Madeline and I will be focusing our talk on the long-term recovery planning for the town. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Frankie will kind of focus his presentation on the short term or what's happening right now in the community. The third item, the interaction stations, that's basically what I'm calling the last half an hour of the workshop, where you will have a chance to get up, go to the back, speak one-on-one with the other partners that are in the back of the room. We will also, everyone should have been given stickers, and we will have a voting thing where we have on the back wall, there are 6 posters up with different project areas that the town is looking at. And what we want to do is get your feedback, your engagement by using the stickers to vote. Like I said, each person should have been given 8 stickers. So again, there are 6 posters. So at the end, feel free to go through the 6 and vote with your stickers. There's no meaning to the color, so don't get caught up on what is blue, what is red. There's no meaning to the color. A sticker is a sticker. So, and a sticker is a vote, whether it's a blue, red, green, yellow, whatever. So just something that came up after last night. I just want to point that out. So we have that, and lastly, I guess I will plug. You'll see around the room these posters like what's behind me. It was a flyer for this workshop. On the flyer, you'll see a QR code. If you have a phone and you can scan the code, it will take you directly to the online survey that the town currently has posted, and it will ask questions. And it deals with the long-term recovery for the town, and we want to get the community's input on how or some of the plans that the town is looking at doing. So definitely, if you haven't taken the survey yet, take your phone out, scan the QR code, and it'll take you right to the survey. And I will pass it over to Madeline.
Thank you, Dan. Can everyone hear me all right? Wonderful. All right, my name is Madeline Gorman. I'm a part of the Community Assistance Contract Team, and I'll give you all an introduction to recovery support. So Community Assistance mission is to help enable local governments to effectively and efficiently carry out some community-based recovery planning and management, as well as create some programs to fulfill that planning and management for recovery. We think recovery is successful when it is federally supported, state managed, and locally executed. So we carry out these recovery planning and programs using the whole community approach. So we are bringing together residents, local officials, local, state, federal government, private, public partnerships, all of these different stakeholders coming together in order to assess the needs of their community and then determine the best ways to build societal security and resilience. How can we bounce back better from the next storm? So obviously a big part of this philosophy is leveraging partnerships. So again, we are pulling together state, local, and federal partnerships in order to leverage the best technical assistance and the best fit funding opportunities in order to achieve recovery and resilience. Recovery coordination. So at the request of the town, we have been pulling together all of these stakeholders, understanding public opinion and what you want for your recovery moving forward in order to engage in a needs assessment, a recovery needs assessment, which then will filter into a recovery plan. So up on the screen, we have a recovery continuum picture for you that's demonstrating short, intermediate, and long-term recovery. In our next presentation, we will talk about short-term recovery, but this presentation is specifically focused on long-term recovery, and I want to point out to all of you that the long-term recovery arc here, the green arc, starts during short-term recovery. This is the time when we start asking ourselves the big question. What is it that we want our community to look like in 5, 10, 20 years? How do we bring the best things from the past as well as build toward a stronger and more resilient community in the future? So, purpose of long-term recovery, again, engaging with community members to create a vision, to understand our goals, to think about initiatives and strategies and projects that can help get us there, and then filter that all into a recovery plan that outlines all of our goals and visions. That recovery plan will not only include our vision and goals, but it'll also document the damage sustained by the community and then the resulting gaps and needs of the community so that we can think through potential projects, connect those dots, identify some partners and some stakeholders and potential funding sources that it all lines up together to make the recovery as smooth as possible. All right, and then I'm going to pass it back to Dan for some goals and themes.
All right, thank you, Madeline. So Madeline gave us kind of an overview on long-term recovery planning and the involvement of community assistance with that. And now I'm going to kind of get more into what does it all mean for the town of Fort Myers Beach, and how are we kind of trying to pull this together into the recovery plan that we will be developing. So one of the next several slides that I'll be focusing on will be the different themes, and the whole purpose of the theme is that when we looked at the different projects, the unmet needs of the community, the unfunded projects, and we looked at what areas would they fall under. Would they fall under infrastructure, natural resources, housing, et cetera. And the reason why we want to kind of match them up is because then one of the previous slides that Madeline had up there was that list of the different federal partners. And so what we do is we try to match up for funding opportunities, match up these projects with partners like the US EPA, because the US EPA has programs out there that can help fund or at least get some of these projects started. The US Army Corps of Engineers is another example. And trying to match up the projects with these other partners is kind of part of this long-term process that I'll be going through. So the first area to talk about is economic recovery. And now these are just potential ideas or potential goals that the town could look into in relation to economic recovery. I know the first bullet there, concentrate development or redevelopment on commercial hubs. Right now, the town of Fort Myers Beach, already does have, a commercial area with Times Square on, the northern end of the island. There's also the Santini Plaza on the south end of the island. So those hub areas are already there. But one idea is to be able to expand on what is already there to kind of help drive further economic growth. We could talk about attracting, developers to invest in these hub areas. And then the last one is rehabilitate flood structures through loans and grant programs. And again, I'll kind of point to our partners in the back of the room with SBA, and they can definitely help out. With looking at some low interest loans. But again, I'll plug them and say definitely stop by and talk to them afterwards. All right, the second theme is planning, and planning can encompass a lot of different areas. Everything from zoning, land use changes. I think we'll see as some of these properties on the island that were either partially damaged or even severely damaged by the hurricane. There could be an opportunities for rezoning to help with some of the redevelopment that the town may be interested in doing. We say remove the severely damaged structures. There's still a lot of structures out there to be addressed, and kind of working with the current property owners on what's the best way to address them. Increasing home ownership. Looking at ways to bring housing opportunities, and we'll get to housing here shortly, to the island for people to stay here full time if they're not already here full time. And then the last one I have is increase public beach access and conservation. And I know that the town is looking at ways to try to do that, to try to look at these properties that are currently for sale, and whether or not there's an opportunity to use or have them to provide additional beach access for the community. All right, my third theme is health and social services. Again, this is a topic that covers a lot of different areas, and some areas that could be considered is improvements to public safety. The top photo there that I have is of the old, current urgent care facility on the island, and is there an opportunity to have either to bring back that urgent care, or to have another urgent care, or some type of services on the island, versus having the people have to drive across the bridge to be able to access just basic urgent care services. Expand elderly, disabled, and senior care resources. Again, sometimes after a disaster, and the community is really looking at doing replacements or improvements on infrastructure. I mean, infrastructure is obviously a key item that needs to be done, and some of the social services sometimes can be missed or overlooked, but being able to do that, because there's a lot of need, I think, especially post disaster. There can be a lot of need for elderly care. And then last thing is child care facilities, and having the resources for people that work on the island and who have children who may not be in school yet to have those resources, whether it's, daycare facilities, et cetera, but being able to look into those areas for additional services. Housing. Housing is always going to be a big topic, I think, for any community, recovering from a disaster. Being able to attract developers to put in either, multifamily units or even single family. Because I think, one thing that we hear is that, the people that live here like the small neighborhood feel to some of the streets that they live on, and they would like to, be able to keep that neighborhood feel to the community. And so, looking at ways to be able to maintain that. Workforce housing, we hear that a lot in areas, and what are some opportunities to attract workforce housing? A lot of the people that work on the island work in the service industries, but do they live here, or are they driving from 20 miles away? And so being able to provide some opportunities for that demographic. Senior centers, being able, with the people that are retired here and who want to stay here on the island, what services, could there be for, could there be like independent living, assisted living facilities? Items like that are just some areas to look into. The last one is, tiny home and small home villages. Again, it's something to look at. Obviously there's a lot of larger homes on the island, but some people can't afford those larger homes. So, looking at some smaller unit dwellings for people, it could be another option to consider. Natural and cultural resources. A lot here. Everything from redevelopment of the public parks, and I think Jeff will be talking here shortly about some of the work that's currently going on some of the town parks and the redevelopment that's happening. Improving the biking, walking, and paddle trails. I think that's one area that I mentioned earlier about how, in looking at partners, and I think the US EPA, one of the projects that they're looking at trying to provide assistance is being able to do that with the biking and the walking and the paddle trails. Promote local art scene. I think we have areas, that middle photograph there. Many of you probably know, was taken at the restaurant that used to be down near the pier. But being able to promote that, kind of tap into the local artists that are here and see if there's ways to expand, murals, public art. We have events at local art galleries. Again, just something to help promote that part of the community. Restore beaches and dunes, natural shorelines. Chad will be speaking here shortly on some of the work that's being done on the beach renourishment. So that's being considered. And then lastly, expanding, cultural resources programs. The community has the Mound House, which is an amazing resource for the town. It provides a lot of, they host a lot of activities there. And then the history of that location really is a great resource for the town to be able to kind of expand on. And then lastly, infrastructure. And again, I mentioned earlier that infrastructure is definitely a main part of a community's recovery. And so what are the areas, what are the priorities for the town as the town looks to make improvements? Parking, we hear a lot about the parking on the island and the issues there. Dredging of the canals, I've been hearing that, quite often as one of the major areas that the town is looking at addressing. And, there's a lot of debris that was washed into the canals due to the storm, and how can the town help address that. Stormwater and flood management improvements. I know the town has been looking at the drainage swales here in the community, and what are some of the other ways in addition to that can the town help to make improvement. Wastewater and drinking water, another area, and then strengthening utilities. Could be everything from burying, the current utilities that are here, just something to secure the utilities that are currently here. So again, these are just ideas. Again, these are just ideas to kind of look at different ways that the town could help out with the long-term recovery. So as I wrap up and pass the podium over to Frankie, this slide is really just to kind of have a lot of images to talk about. The one thing that I've heard regarding Fort Myers Beach is that they really want to maintain that small community feel. Everything from hosting a 4th of July parade. You have the shrimp festival. Being able to maintain that small character, that small feel. We know that the town's is gonna redevelop, post Ian. We know that, but being able to maintain that sense of community is something that I hear from a lot of people. The new development. We have the new Bayside Park that Frankie will speak on here shortly. I mean, that's just kind of it's an image to say, hey, the town is moving forward. It was affected by the storm, but this is how we've been able to, within a year since the storm. These are some of the ways that the town has already been able to move forward. And the drawing is just really just to, create a vision of what could be. The town, it may not look like that, but it's there to create a vision, because the whole idea of long-term recovery is how can we help create a vision? How can the community help create a vision for the town of where you would like to see your town, 10, 15, 20 years from now? And so it's more of just helping to create a vision. So on that note, I will wrap it up here. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. I do want to point that if you have any additional questions, I'm going to direct you to the town's website. There's a lot of information on the town's website. Jennifer has been helping to put a lot of the information, everything from the survey to the recordings. The recordings of these workshops will also be on the website as well. So you'll be able to go back and listen to them if needed. And then lastly, make your voice heard. The whole purpose of these community workshops is to invite the community to come out, listen to our presentations, but then, through your voting, either with the stickers or doing the online survey, or just leaving notes. I will say there are comment cards up here. So if there is something that we didn't talk about, either Madeline and myself or Frankie and his team, that you really want to express, your voice to the community, by all means, write it down on the comment card, leave it in the basket. We also have some larger notepads. There's one on that side and one on that side. You can leave notes on there as well. So yeah, definitely do not leave. I mean, if there's something that's still on your mind before you leave here, find a way to relay that, to the town. Lastly, before I pass it over, you'll see some maps kind of around the corner here. Definitely take the time to check them out. There's a pre-Ian Ian aerial. I think it was flown in 21. And then the second one is an aerial that was flown 2 days after Ian. So you can definitely see the contrast on the two aerial maps. But with that, thank you for coming out. And I will pass it over to Frankie.
Thank you very much, Dan. My name is Frankie Kropacek. I'm the Operations and Compliance Director for the town of Fort Myers Beach. Long title for not really doing a lot. But what we have been doing is kind of looking back at what we needed to do. And last night's crowd got free pizza and wings, so I feel you guys got a little cheated on that one. But looking on what we need to do today is the same thing that we've needed to do from day one, and that's take a step back, look at what is in front of us, and try to approach it in the best possible way. So you get a lot of 10-cent words thrown out. You hear resilience, you hear making it stronger and making it better. Vision, that's a great word to use these days. We're actually living that every day. So I have the fortune of working for our new town manager, Mr. Andy Hyatt, who the town board had the vision to bring him in at this time to move us forward. Before that, they reached out to a gentleman who's in the audience here, Keith Wilkins, and had the vision to bring him on as a triage role, basically, to stop the bleeding, reorganize, regroup, take a deep breath, and figure out how we needed to make that next step forward. So as a town, we never stop using that term vision because we can't. You know, look outside, look right next door to Diamond Head. This is all throughout the island. So we don't want to look at rubble. We don't want to look at houses that are not being built. I want to get that call at 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon saying, I can't stand the construction noise anymore. I want to be like the people in Naples when they hear a leaf blower at 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. That means we've made it back. That means that we've kind of had that vision and we've put the right tools in place for people to build back and build back without the obstacles. In the past, the town has been its own worst enemy. We know that. And we are digging every day and every moment of every day to overcome that. Little by little, we're trying to right wrongs. We're trying to create new possibilities as we move forward to all work together. And it's easy to stand up here and say it. It's harder to make sure that you understand that we're actually living it and doing it every day. Those have had limited contact with us understand that we are trying to meet with you, talk with you, find a common solution. And as we go through this, you'll understand some of the things that the town has done so far since Ian, and some of the things that we have up our sleeve, so to speak. Demolition and debris. Okay, this letter has circulated the town like wildfire, probably quicker than the floodwaters on Ian. Pardon the bad choice of a pun. But what it needs to do is it needs to set the stage for how we continue with that vision and how we continue to move forward. A lot of our buildings, residencies, things in our town need to come down. Need to come down for safety reasons, need to come down because they were abandoned, need to come down because they're just not safe to have in a neighborhood or on a beach. We couldn't ask the people to do this without first doing it ourselves. So through consistent work and a lot of teamwork at the state level, at the FEMA level, and in the town with our staff, FDEM was able to take down our old town hall, as lovely a building as it was, and show that we're asking you to do the same thing that we did. And nothing more, nothing less. And that's all that letter was sent out to do. We understand that when we did send out that letter, it caught a lot of people by surprise as all of a sudden we got phone calls saying, hey, wait a minute here. I'm on a FEMA mitigation list. Unfortunately, we had no way to coordinate that with FEMA. So if you read the letter, and on the bottom of that letter, it did state, reach out. We understand. We'll work with you. The days of being fined and cited repeatedly for things have kind of come and gone. I would prefer to think of us as educate, educate, educate. We want to make it right. We want to find that solution moving forward. Because if you're happy in building back, that makes us happy. I don't have a town to run without buildings, without people, without a community. A lot of the things that we're used to seeing in Fort Myers as far as the town goes are no longer here. Newton Park is one of them. The funny thing is when you sit down with insurance people and with some of the people at FEMA, and you're going through what you can put on paper to try to recoup as a town, historical buildings aren't one of them. The property is, but the building is gone forever. These are the opportunities that we have not only on the town level and with the historical building, but also with our residential buildings. We can build back better. We can do it the right way, the proper way. You're never going to build 100% resilient homes to withstand Mother Nature. She'll always find a way to knock you down. But we can do a lot better job than what we did before. Town personnel. That's always been the hot topic from what I understand. I came in April. Our town manager, Andy, came in started May 1st. So we're relatively newbies to this whole thing. But the way we run our show, so to speak, is an open door policy. You've got a problem, I want to know about it. And together, you and I, we're going to find a solution for that problem. Sometimes it involves staff, sometimes it involves just a misunderstanding. Either way, our doors are always open. That's the way we do business. As far as personnel changes go, we've tried to put people in the best possible places for success. One of which is the young lady in the green t-shirt here happened to be a parks aide. After Ian, because we had attrition, he had 5 people where there used to be 50. She is now one of our HR analysts. And with over 30 years experience in the government, she's probably one of the best HR analysts I've ever encountered. So it just goes to show you sometimes you may go into something thinking that you're this, but at the end of the day, you're really a lot more than that. And it goes to in the community as well. You know, you're not just citizens of this town. You are the town. We answer to you. End of story. So does the elected officials. That's where we need to hear that. We need to have that two-way feedback back and forth. Before I bring up Jeff, I just wanted to let you know that what we've done as far as Bayside Park goes, the mayor and Andy both refer to those things as low-hanging fruit. It was not a quick job or our daily perseverance to get it done. And if anything else, it was a testament to getting our staff a genuine team-building exercise, but also to show to the town that we are here to stay. We do back up our words. As we move forward and do those type of things, we cannot do them without community partners. One of the best partners we have is in the room, and that's Chief Worth in the fire district. Also with the SO, the sheriff's office. These are people that may have not really kind of figured in when you mentioned Fort Myers Beach, town, versus the fire district or the sheriff. But by God, we have come to the table. We have found common ground. We have found a reason to make this town better based on the way what we're bringing to the table. And hopefully that shows here in the days to come. So besides me babbling, I'm going to bring up Jeff Hauge, our Parks Director, and he can take on.
Thanks, Frankie, and thanks for all of you that are here today to listen to our recovery process. My name is Jeff Hauge. I'm the Director of Culture, Parks, and Rec for the town of Fort Myers Beach. I'm going to hit on a few of our properties that we have under my leadership. But I first want to just say that part of the recovery process is finding amenities, bring back amenities and convenience for the residents. And for me, that means getting the gym open so you don't have to go off island. Getting pickleball courts on the island, hopefully soon we'll be getting the swimming pool kind of started and going. So part of that recovery is the amenities and the convenience for our residents and our guests that enjoy our island. The Bay Oaks Recreational Campus, if you haven't been down that way, it was our debris site after Ian, so it was piled up with everyone's belongings, unfortunately, refrigerators, what have you. And our recovery is really, it's a steady, Frankie talked about Bayside being kind of one of those low-hanging fruits and a quick project. Some of these aren't going to be as quick as that. We had that already kind of set in place. The ball fields and everything were totally destroyed, and we are working on getting the rec center back with some improvements. The community pool I know that's I get a lot of emails about the pool. Rest assured, we are working on it. It's kind of a process with, ordering the equipment. All of our pump room equipment is trashed. We're going to raise it up, hopefully some mitigation for if this would happen next time or any kind of flooding. The pool has some cracks and pebbling issues, so we're going to have to resurface the pools, both the kiddie structure and the lap pool. It is a priority of ours to get that open. We are working towards it. I know you don't see a whole lot of progress there, but behind the scenes, we have contractors coming out to give us bids and quotes. We have electricians starting to give us quotes to get the electrical done. Getting the plumbers in there to get the bathrooms ready. So you may not see it as much, when you drive by or drive by it, but we are, rest assured, working on it, and we are going to get the pool open. I don't know a timeline on that. We are still working. It's kind of a process with getting an engineer in first, and then the pool companies, and then the pump room equipment. Then we got to order a new slide. So it's quite the big project that it's kind of have to go from scratch. Our ball fields, if you have been down there, one of the nice things we have going for us is we put together our Little League field. So the Bay Oaks Little League field was done, completed right before Idalia came. So it was a couple days. I see some faces in here that helped out with the sodding. We had a grant through Major League Baseball to do the infield portion, but we needed some help on the outfield sod. So what we did is we had ICS Materials come in, and they donated their time and their equipment to level it out. Which was great. They had to take off about 8 inches because we wanted to make sure we got all the debris off of there, so it's a safe structure for the kids. Nothing sticking up out of there. So we took off 8 inches. They brought 8 inches back in to a foot, depending on the level. Leveled it off, and then we started with the sod. And we laid. I know our volunteers and our staff laid about 28,000 square feet of sod, which was great. They weren't necessarily, thrilled about it at first, but I think once you see it and see the green space, you see the hard work that our whole town kind of came together. Unfortunately, the sod was in maybe 2 or 3 days before Idalia came in. With the storm surge, we ended up having 1.5 to 2 feet of salt water on this new sod. What you see now on that picture, the bigger picture in the center there, is kind of what it looks like now. You can see there are areas of brown that it didn't come back. The outfield has part of it has sunk a little bit, so we're looking to repair that within the next week or so. I hope we've been getting quotes on new things, and then hopefully by mid-October we're ready to have that celebration back. Where MLB is going to come down. 7-Eleven also donated some money to us, so we couldn't have done it without community partners for sure. The softball field, which was in the location, will be moved back. Part of the redevelopment plan before Ian was we were going to move the softball field back, and hopefully we can start that in the next 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, and we're going to start prepping the ground for it. But we had the plans in place for that one, so it should go hopefully a little more quick. The actual rec center, if you guys were in there, may needed an update anyway, but we're getting it now. We are working on, hopefully by Monday, we'll have the okay to order our fitness equipment. There's a company down there now, the construction company, that is doing the debris removal of some of the things that were in there. Anything about 8 or 9 feet and below we're replacing. And they're working on that with our date is November to get that back open. So it'll have brand new equipment, which will be nice because I know in surveys that's one of the things people said. So we are going to get that. We're also going to have, the camps for kids, the club rec, the after-school program. Because I know I've talked to a lot of parents, and they are saying, sometimes they have to leave work at 1:30 just to go get their kid. So we want to get that open as soon as we can and get those kids in there from, Beach Elementary. Even if it's, if the school for some reason isn't open on time, and we'll have the buses come to us and be open till 6 o'clock for them. For the after-school program. Other programs like pickleball, we'll be having those indoor, of course. That's a big one that we love to have. We have 8 courts in there. The outdoor courts are also going to get redone, so we'll have that opportunity as well. But we'll have other programs, boss programs. When we had game days, they came in and they played cribbage or cards or whatever. We want to host those as well. Just get the community involved in there and have a place for them to meet. Is this going to work? There we go. Oops. Did I skip one? No. Okay. The Mound House. another one that is that's being very well utilized right now. It's one of the only green spaces on the island that you can go to. You got the beautiful back bay there. People come out, just have lunch there because there's not a whole lot of green space on the island. You can see there that we have the grounds reopened in January right away. We cleaned up the debris. The mound house itself had maybe an inch or two of water in it. So the Calusa knew what they were doing with building the shell mound. And if you don't know what that's about, you can come take a tour and learn all about it. But the mound is built up enough where when Ian came through, it was protected. We had some roof damage, which we're working on. The underground museum part, if you've been to that or if you haven't, was fully filled with water with storm surge. And part of the shell did come down. Most of it's intact. The majority of it's intact. We have to get a structural engineer in that I think is coming next week. Once we get the okay for that, then we'll start opening that up to the public. So the museum is open. The museum store is open. Tours are open. We've been hosting a lot of meetings. We have events planned there. So it's just a beautiful place to go. We have also the observation pier that people have been doing a lot of fishing on. I can attest to that. I brought my son down. We caught a few, so fishing's good down there. And the whole atmosphere out there is just beautiful. It's almost like, the hurricane didn't go through it out there. But we're cleaned up there and looking to improve on that as well. All right. In a nutshell, we're just, we're looking at recovering, and we're looking at getting these amenities and opportunities for the community. We're having a fright night on the field in October. We used to have fright nights in the gym, if you remember those, for many, many years, and we don't want to lose those traditions. We don't want to lose those events that the town looks forward to. So we're really looking at getting those back and doing those. So fright night will be October 20th. Like kids, people down there, we're going to do a trunk or treat. So we're going to get some of those community events back. And we're just looking to recover, just like everyone else, and provide the services for the community. I'll be around after if you have any questions specifically, but I will introduce Jason Freeman, our Public Works Director.
Good morning, everybody. Appreciate you coming out. My name is Jason Freeman. I'm the Public Works Director for the town. I just want to give a little overview of the Public Works Department. We're a small but mighty team here. Not only have we been tackling on a lot of the recovery projects since Hurricane Ian, but also continuing on with the day-to-day maintenance that we've been doing for years and years on the island, including the trash pickup, upkeeping the beach accesses, the roads, and just on top of all those recovery projects as well. So we have staff that work 7 days a week to keep this island going and maintained, on top of all the additional projects that we have. So I know Bayside Park's been touched on a couple times already, so I won't go too much into it, but it was, things everybody knows at this point, but it was a project that we just finished about a month before the Hurricane Ian hit. So that was one of those that we've really came together with the community, with our staff, with our contractors and everyone to come and really make that project happen as quickly and safely as possible. So it's one of those that we welcome everybody next week to line up with that hurricane anniversary for that event down there, and everyone can go out and take a look at it. We still have a couple remaining punch list items and final touches on it, but it's looking great down there already, and we continue to look forward to the progress on this island. So we'll talk about Times Square for a minute as well. Times Square, I think as everyone knows at this point, is that major commercial district downtown that aligns, you have Bayside Park on the one side of Old San Carlos and Times Square on the other with the town-maintained street, Old San Carlos, which is where all those restaurants and shops were. So we've identified that at this point as, a major priority as well, to not only get that cleaned up. We had a little setback with Idalia coming through and putting some more sand on Times Square, but we've been continuing on with the maintenance of cleaning up that area, having welcoming events back, such as that farmers market on Fridays now, and just really making sure that that's available to the community as well, just with how symbolic and iconic that area is. So we've been working on doing electrical repairs down there, and then just this past week, with the donation from the Mershmans of that clock, getting that restored in there. So we also invite everybody down there next week on the 28th, a little bit after the Bayside Park opening event, to come see the unveiling of that. So I think symbols like that are really just showing the progress that we're making, and I think it truly means a lot to people, whether you're local around here There's a lot of, that clock I think is in tons of family pictures and vacations and everything alike. So symbols like that are what we're really prioritizing to get, as well as continuing on with the daily maintenance of all across the island. Let's see here. So then going on with just roads and infrastructure and stormwater cleanup as well, that's another priority that Public Works has been working on. We're still working with FEMA on doing some inspections of the roads, bidding out some of those major projects that we have to get the roads restored, as well as everything on the island here. Stormwater cleanup as well. We're going on our second pass now of the entire island. The town has a contractor, Earthview, who's out there pretty much every day to get those stormwater systems not only assessed and cleaned out, but then also planning ahead for future as well. The town was in the middle of planning for some stormwater and water improvements on some Tier 1 identified streets and planning that before the hurricane. So we're not only continuing on with those projects, but also continuing to assess some future needs as well of what we can improve while we're doing those. So if anyone's not familiar with that stormwater clean-out process, it involves a pretty lengthy process of taking some cameras down through those stormwater systems that the town has. We're cleaning those out, but also identifying through photos and videos of any damage that we have or any improvements that we can make. So it's a pretty neat process that we're happy to talk through you with, and our staff are always available for any questions. So we're going on our second pass now. We're expecting that to be done in about 3 to 5 weeks, and then we'll continue on, though, until the job is done with that. So one of those things we want to reiterate, too, is we do have staff on call 7 days a week. So if you do have any type of utility emergencies or anything like that, please use those options. You can find the information on the website, as well as we have that posted in a couple different places. If you do see stormwater issues and flooding, just please communicate those out to us. Like I said, we have staff that are receptive to just listening to everything, and we'll get those identified and hopefully find some resolutions to those as quickly as possible. So not only do we have the projects that we have beforehand, but also with Hurricane Ian and Idalia, we're continuing on. We had a little bit more sand come into the system from Idalia, so we're not only cleaning that up again, but just making sure that we can improve for the future as well to make sure we can rectify some of these issues that we're seeing. And with that, I think I'll hand it over to Chad. Appreciate it.
Hey, morning everyone. Chad Schutz, environmental staff for the town of Fort Myers Beach. So, environmental project manager managing the beach and the bay here in Fort Myers Beach. Resiliency is one of those $3 words you hear tossed around a lot. And what does that mean for us environmentally as a Bay Area island? It means being able to protect our properties and take these storms and be able to bounce back from them quicker. So one of the important things that we've been working on is building back our beach. It helps mitigate these storms that we're seeing, sea level rise and bigger storms. We're going to keep getting hits. It's not if, it's when. So the first thing that we did out of the gate was get in touch with FEMA beach staff, their subject matter experts, and get our emergency berm constructed. The first thing you'll hear FEMA say is we don't build berms. So the town built this berm with our partners at Coastal Engineering Consultants and our Gary Grubbs Emergency Services and ICS getting that berm out. Very thankful to have that berm constructed at least about 80% in time for Idalia to mitigate those issues. It made a big difference, and that was a real good feeling for me just helping out with that. A big thank you to our federal and state partners for that funding. We definitely would not have been able to do that, $7 million plus project without it. Another project that we had on the way to also build back the beach is the renourishment. We happen to have that underway before Hurricane Ian. So we are still waiting for our U.S. Army Corps permit, working with U.S. Fish and Wildlife to get their biological opinions so that the Army Corps can issue their permit and we can go out to bid to get this project started. We were trying for November, but with the permitting hold up, we're already, I'm being told, getting pushed back into December. So trying to get that going as soon as possible. It's very important. We need to finish our, we'll go down to the southern end first, where they've had the most erosion over there, Leonardo Arms, 7400. And it's very important that we get that done by February because bird season will start up, and we'll just have those environmental issues stopping work down there. So important that we get going as soon as possible. Waterway cleanup. That's been a big deal. Again, a big thanks to our state partners for making that first round. It's still an issue, as y'all could tell from just Idalia, what washed up on the beach. There's still things out in the water, out in the Gulf, as well as back in the canal. So as staff, we're continuing to assess and see what's still in the water, what we can get out of there. The lagoon on the beach side is also on our radar to get that cleaned out in that environmentally sensitive area. A lot of debris came out, everything from cars, houses, everything in between. So important that environmentally that we get those hazardous materials and navigational hazards cleaned out of our canals so we can enjoy our waterways. The mooring field, you'll hear Mr. Dan talk about our hubs of business. Nothing's more important than downtown, access to Times Square, Margaritaville coming online, Moss Marina with their plans. It's going to be a center for tourists to come and visit and enjoy. And the town has 83 mooring balls out in the back bay for sailors and cruisers to come and enjoy our islands. So the mooring field is an important access point. We're working on getting our dinghy dock, at least a temporary dock, splashed back in the water to service those sailors and cruisers so that they can, come and visit and have that economic stimulus back into our island that we so desperately need on our way to recovery. And also on the bay side, the water from the Gulf doesn't only come in from the Gulf side, it also comes in from the bay side. So stormwater coming in up through our stormwater system, we've applied for grants to replace and add to the duckbill systems that we had on our outfalls that go out into our canals to stop that tidal water from coming up and flooding our streets from within. That's an important project. We're also looking at dredging our canals to restore that stormwater conveyance of those outfalls on the canals that are closer to the Gulf. We had a lot of overwash, a lot of sand, got real shallow, compromising the functionality of those outfalls. So important to dredge that out and clear it out so we restore stormwater conveyance. And that's about all I got. Thank you.
So that's where we've been. That's what's got us to this day, this very day. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming in the future. We know that as we build back as a town, that we have to do it together. That's been pretty well documented already. Not only on the town side and staff, but also with everyone in the community. There's a lot of ways to do that by being engaged, coming to those board meetings, making your voice heard. Also reaching out to us. That's what we're there for. Making solutions together makes solutions that last. I was very fortunate when I came into this position that we had a lot of great young staff on board. Staff that is willing to think outside the box, not go into the same paradigm as we try to redevelop and push back this town to the way it was. We're not proposing getting away from the charm, getting away from the ambiance, whatever you wanted to call it, of the old Fort Myers Beach. That's always going to be here. That fabric is sewn deep within this community. We're just here to enhance it. So everything that we do from today on is to not only put things back, but to put things back better. Better, bigger, more resilient, pardon the word, than they were before. Things that'll last. Things that you can embrace, things that you can physically look at and be proud of as a town. No way are we going to step in anybody's way for progress. We need to work together. And that's the biggest thing I can say moving forward. We looked at the old town hall coming down. I think there's a lot of questions out there as far as what's going to happen with the new town hall. You know that we're in construction trailers. That's not where we'd like to be. Being like a hamster in a habit trail is not my idea of conduciveness and running a town. That said, there are plans in place for a new multi-use community building, and those will be revealed in due time. Everything that we do, we're trying to do as pragmatically as possible to make sure that all the right decisions are made, not just decisions that favor us, but decisions that favor all of us. And I guess that's the approach that we want to take. When we talk about infrastructure changes, we're not talking about digging up every street. We're not talking about making somebody pay for something that they don't need. We're talking about making the island better. It all falls into Daniel's plan for 5 years. We're not talking about having all this stuff there at the end of the 5 years. We're talking about making it so it lasts beyond the 5 years. You know, the old military adage, I don't like giving up an inch that cost me a mile to get. Kind of the mentality that we try to approach each and every day. Everything that we look at, we try to honestly look at from 3 different angles and find the best approach to deal with it. As we move forward, funding is our huge source, the only obstacle that's really in our way. And that comes with time, and we know that. But trying to live within those means and trying to still be able to forecast what's coming next is the tricky part. I can't do that. I'm just an old guy. But we've got some really good young guys on staff. People that have that vision. People that have that mentality to take this ball and kind of run with it, pardon the pun. So with that, I'd like to thank Daniel and his staff for putting this all together and for working with us from day one with all this, and for everybody that showed up today. Everybody's here to ask questions afterwards, so if you have anything, please approach us. Thank you. And those areas will be addressed. They are being looked at by not only Chad and his team, but also by our consultants as well. So there is a plan in place. The plan is being developed, and it will be presented to council, and as how we're going to address that in the short term. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anybody else have a direct question we might feel for that? If not, everybody's here, so feel free to reach out.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm just gonna wrap up the presentation portion of the workshops. Again, thank you for coming out today. At this point, we're gonna kind of open up the floor for people to go around. You can, if you have additional questions for Frankie and his team, by all means, they're here. You can bring your questions to them. I'm going to plug again the teams that are in the back. We have Terry from the Disaster Case Managers or Management Program is here in the corner. Greg with PTAC or Apex is also here. And then we have the SBA folks here as well. So before you leave, please make your rounds, stop by, visit with the partners that are here, talk to them about any specific questions that you may have, because they are here to help at least make an attempt to answer your questions. Just one other thing, remember with your stickers, if you came in late, if you didn't get stickers, stop by the front desk, grab your 8 stickers, and on the back wall there are 6 posters with different project areas the town is looking at. Please, with your stickers, put your votes up, and we'll be pulling that information together. There are the comment cards. If there's something that we didn't talk about today, and you really want to relay that information, put it down on a card, leave the card in a basket. There's also some large notepads. There's 2 of them up there. You can also write down comments on notepads as well. With that, I think we've said what we wanted to say. But again, thank you all for coming out today, and I appreciate all the input that you have to offer. Thank you.